Hey, welcome to the One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute with your host, the alchemist of Indiana's Black Forest, Alan Bishop. Hey, this channel is all about home distilling and legal distilling. If you've got questions, reach out to us in the comments below, social media, or via bishopshomegrown@gmail.com. And don't forget to check out thealchemistcabinet.com. Hey, what's up, guys? Back here answering rapid fire questions in the tiny bedroom studio. I don't know if I should really call it a studio for One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute. That's just what I call it for If You Have Ghosts, You Have Everything, our paranormal podcast. But just my camera here just a little bit. Anyways, I just want to take a minute and thank you guys for supporting the channel. We're up to almost 2,000 subscribers, which, you know, for our channel is not bad at all. Because when I set out to start doing the One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute, I didn't set out to make a channel for beginners, right? There's plenty of those channels out there. There's plenty of that great information about home distilling out there. There's plenty of other guys that cover those topics for those who are beginners. What I set out to do was to sort of attract those who wanted to take things to the next level and get more advanced into distillation as much as possible, and therefore to use my background in home distilling for a couple of decades, as well as my background in legal distilling for about a decade, to further inform your skills and your art as best as what I can. You know, prefacing that with, I'm not always right. Sometimes I'm wrong, and I like to learn. So I love to learn from people. You know, if I am wrong about something, they can inform me I'm wrong or remind me that I'm wrong if I have learned about it since that time, etc. That's super important to me. I learn as much from you guys as you guys do from me. I guarantee you that. I love the comments, but please keep liking the channel, liking the videos. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, and please share the videos because that's super important to me. As always, send me your questions, bishopshomegrown@gmail.com, social media, and or the comments below in YouTube, and I'll be glad to get back to them as soon as I can. So, anyways, today is one of those examples where I got a viewer question, which is a fantastic question because it actually reiterated that I was wrong about something in my first book, The Alchemist Cabinet Philosophy, Volume 1. Bearing in mind, I wrote that book between 2016 2017. I've learned a lot since then, talked to a lot of other great distillers since then, you know, and really upped my game since that time and improved upon it over the years. So, but this is a good question, and actually we'll get into that momentarily, because the other thing I want to tell you too is, you know, I oftentimes do talk about some of the products I recommend for you guys. So obviously the 13 stills, Jason Wade Harold Black Forest Edition, crossover still with One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute, Ozark Still Works, the various things that Wayne Herbert is doing to improve distillation technology for home distillers, and then most recently the Badmotivator Barrels stuff that I've been doing. So I'm sure many of you have watched that video, and guys, I can't recommend those barrels highly enough. I just had him on the show last night on Distillers Talk with Christy Atkinson, and Ben was kind enough to send me a number of samples from his barrels that are multiple years old. This is the first time that I have seen a large barrel alternative that, other than 15 gallons, 25s and 30s, that isn't a gimmick. This isn't spirals. This isn't macerating wood chips. This isn't ultrasonic. This isn't any of those things. It's not any of those cheap 1 to 5 gallon barrels, those novelty barrels you can buy online. These things mimic large 53 gallon barrels. Now, they're not going to speed up your maturation at all. They're going to mature at the exact same rate as a 53, and the samples he sent me last night prove that to a T, that they certainly imitate what a 53 does, and in some ways they might do an even slightly better job than a 53. But the other thing I love about what they're doing at Badmotivator is that he's actively encouraging people to mimic what he's doing, and he has videos up on the website that you can check out to show you exactly how to build one of these barrels. You know, he's overwhelmed with orders right now, and if you haven't got a Badmotivator barrel, get on the list. I promise you it's worth the wait and it's worth the money to get one of those barrels, absolutely. But if you have any woodworking skills at all, and you can, go learn how to make those barrels. I guarantee you he will be glad to hear of other people making them, and probably even glad to hear of other people selling those barrels. And if you've got good quality oak, and that's one thing that we touched base on the Distillers Talk episode that'll air here before too long that you're going to want to listen to, put that oak to use and make some barrels like that and get them out there, get them in the hands of home distillers. Because guys, this is the first time I've ever seen a barrel alternative that was not gimmicky, that actually did something cool, that actually puts the home distiller more in the shoes of what a professional distiller does when it comes to barrels and barrel management and how things should mature in wood via micro-oxidization, via oak extraction, and the entire package all wrapped up in one little thing. that being said, I want to get that out of the way. I meant to do that in the intro and I completely forgot. But we're going to move on to this question. So it is titled Another Quick Question from Ukraine. Again, I love these questions from other places outside of the United States. I think that is the coolest thing ever. I love the home distilling community across the world, man. We all have very, very similar goals, whether or not be just on a hobbyist basis or, you know, even prepping basis or any of those things. It's all the same to me as far as I'm concerned. So it says, hi, Alan, quick question. In your first book, you stress the importance of keeping your still clean, including washing off the patina with citric acid. But in large-scale industrial production, as far as I know, such washing of large stills is a rather rare procedure. There is an opinion that the patina, not to be confused with the black film that is sometimes observed during the distillation of barley malt, enhances the properties of copper to bind sulfides and give the distillate a desirable and at the same time unique flavor profile. In this regard, the question at the level of a home hobby, is it really important to polish the inner surface of copper to a shine every time, or is it enough to wash the parts in the steam zone with hot water with a brush? Thanks in advance, Slavko. Great question. And yes, I did say that in the first book, and yes, I was wrong. So let's talk about this for a minute. So I do want to clear up, he says, not to be confused with the black film that is sometimes observed during the distillation of barley malt. We have kind of touched on that on the channel before in stainless steel versus copper. You know, copper is mostly active in the vapor path in most distillations, but with barley malt, because of protein and nitrogen content, the pot itself, it's better to have a copper pot there to clean it up, because that nitrogen definitely wants to stick to that copper. That protein wants to stick to that copper, and you can scrape it off with your finger, see it. It actually gums up sometimes to some degree. You want that off of there for sure. Same thing happens when you use exogenous enzymes at high efficiency. You will also get this kind of like tar-like, I don't really know what you would call it. It's almost the same thing as what you'd see in single malt production. You definitely don't want that to build up over time. You are correct, sir, that it is very rare to do deep cleaning like that on stills and large industrial plants. We don't even do deep cleaning like that very often. I think I've mentioned in videos before, we do it once every month or so. Or if we're switching products, if we're going from, let's say, like a high rye bourbon or a rye whiskey over to a wheated bourbon, we'll do a pretty good cleaning then. Or definitely if we go from a whiskey over to a brandy, absolutely we clean the hell out of it as best as what we possibly can. Or particularly if you're doing a botanical spirit, you want to get all those oils out of the still before you put anything else in there, because nobody wants their whiskey. Well, most people don't want their whiskey to taste like juniper if you've run gin in there before. So, but you are correct. And the other thing with running citric acid like that, and even like the powdered brewer's wash, you know, different pH solutions of that sort, and taking that copper sulfate off, is that you are slowly eating the copper out of your still. So the more of that you do, the more copper you're going to eat out of your still over time, the quicker you're going to have to replace that still. When he's talking about the oxidization or the patina, he's not talking about that blue copper salt stuff that you sometimes see in small home-size hobby stills. He's talking about the kind of darker coloration of the copper. Even if you get a new still and you bring it in and you let it set somewhere for just a little while, that still kind of turns more of a brown color than that bright red. That's a very similar oxidization. But the other thing that happens is when you're distilling, you're actually attracting, you know, those sulfides to the copper, and you're getting a small little coating of that. What I did not know when I wrote the first book was that that coating actually makes the copper more efficient to a degree. And not having it, if you have just clean copper, that copper is not nearly as efficient in pulling out those things that you don't want in your distillate. So you do want a slight coating of that as much as possible. The thing that I do now is that after a distillation, as he just said, I wash out everything that I can with hot water as soon as the distillation's done, dump everything down the drain, wash it down with hot water, get all the oils off the copper, get everything out of the vapor path that I possibly can with the equipment that I have, especially on an industrial scale. It's a little hard to get up there and get into all the line arms, condensers, etc. But I do not worry about that patina that builds up until it's time to switch products, or until the still gets really, really dirty. More often than not from, you know, using exogenous enzymes for mash bills that otherwise wouldn't convert. Even to the extent that in the past several years, when we clean the still really well like that and we get down to that clean copper, if we can, we have the opportunity and we have the time, we will actually leave the still open to the air to A, dry all the water out of the inside of the system, and B, to allow that oxidization to occur to the copper again. So the copper is again more reactive than it would be if it were entirely clean. I hope that answered your question. Yes, thank you for pointing out in the book that was in there, and the Alchemist Cabinet Philosophy Volume 1. Again, we learn things as we go, and that's why I keep writing books. That's why I keep doing podcasts. That's why I keep doing videos, etc. And again, as always, thanks for supporting the channel. Reach out to me with your questions, bishopshomegrown@gmail.com, thealchemistcabinet.com for all the books and DVDs. You can also reach out to me via any of my social media, or you can reach out to me via the YouTube comments below. Like, subscribe, and share, guys. Let's try to get up to maybe 3,000 in the next 6 months. We'll see if we can get there or not. But love y'all regardless, and thank you.